Hello. Thank you so much for tuning into this ASMR true crime soft spoken video. Today I'm going to be doing another requested case, so thank you so much. I'm also going to be doing my makeup and getting ready for work, so I apologize if it's disruptive. Let me know. I just wanted to make a video and coordinate my time. So today we're going to be doing the unsolved case of Jeannette DePalma. Jeannette Christine DePalma was born August 3rd, 1956 in Jersey City, New Jersey, to parents Lauren and Salvador DePalma. She was born into a large Italian family. She was one of 5 girls and also had 3 brothers. So 8 kids. Whew. The family lived in Springfield Township in New Jersey. She attended the Union Catholic Regional High School. She was described as a kind and beautiful girl, and she was very much into her faith. She planned on attending Bible college after high school, and she was involved in community work at the church to help support drug addicts. So the family was very regular at attending church, and they had a good amount of expectations when it came to their religion. There were some reports that said that some friends of Jeannette indicated that her relationship with religion was more due to the push by her family, and she had this little bit of rebellion side to her. A little background on the cultural impact of the time. It's the 1970s, so it's the hippie movement. This is also the time that Christian ideals are really being embedded in society, but it's also the time other beliefs start to grow in response. Apparently there was, a lot of conversation around witchcraft and devil worshipping. The famous Satanic panic started in the 1980s, so this was the time that led up to that panic, the nationwide panic. There was this focus and fear around beliefs outside of Christianity, and there was the rise of psychedelic drugs and weed, and this turned into teens doing what they do best, which is stupid shit. And there was starting to grow this belief that the force of Satanism was impacting young American culture. So on August 7th, 1972, it's just 4 days after Jeannette's 16th birthday, and she tells her mom she is going to a friend's house by train. It's later in the evening when Jeannette does not return home, and she really was not the type of teen who didn't meet curfew or communicate with her parents. It's discovered that Jeannette never made it to her friend's home on the day of August 7th. Her parents file a missing persons report immediately. They begin an investigation, and they put the word out of her missing, put up missing flyer posters all over the community, so majority of the community is aware that she is missing. It's believed that Jeannette must have been hitchhiking on the day of her disappearance. So 6 weeks go by with no information on where Jeannette is, no possible sightings or signs of where she may have gone. And then on September 19th, 1972, a dog owner is walking their dog on the trail in the Springfield O'Dale Quarry Park. The dog went off a little bit on the trail, and then when it returned a short while back, it had something in its mouth. Upon closer inspection, the owner discovers it's a decomposing, amputated arm. Can you imagine your dog bringing you back a human arm? What do you do with your dog after that? There is no amount of Doogie toothpaste in the world. Anyway, the owner is very shocked and immediately informs the police. Police arrive at the park and immediately start searching that area, and there's suspicion automatically that this may be Jeannette. They discover the body of Jeannette in the area of the park. She's face down on top of a 40-foot cliff. And I saw in some articles they describe this cliff as being not very accessible. She's laying on her stomach, facing right. Her right arm is over a tree limb, and her items were located about 8 feet from her, which included Vicks inhaler, a small green compact, lipstick, blue comb, a key, clear vial with unknown substance, small eyeshadow pack, and both of her sandals. It's reported that her body is discovered outlined with some rocks and sticks, and that these sticks were placed in a cross-like formation, and the outline was reported to have appeared to seem like a coffin. Her body was so decomposed at this point, the investigators were only able to confirm her identity through dental records. So this indicates that she may have been lying in the area for the entire 6 weeks. Her body had gone through multiple weather conditions, which really impacted the investigation. No autopsy was able to be performed to be able to clarify any findings due to the state of decomposition. X-rays were taken of her skull to examine if any trauma had occurred, like any stab wounds, blunt force, or bullet wounds, but nothing was found. So the cause of death is never officially confirmed. However, the medical examiner states the cause of death was more than likely to be strangulation or an overdose, which is two different things. But this leads the Union County Prosecution Office to treat the case as an unsolved homicide. The medical examiner found an unusual amount of lead in her system. News of the discovery of her body goes into the community, which causes worry that there's a potential murderer in the area. There was no reason for her to be a target. She's this young high schooler. There's no indication on what really actually happened and why, so this is a lot of fear. A few months after the discovery of her body in January 1973, the FBI tests her clothing. that she was wearing, along with the dirt in the area around her. No foreign hairs were found on these items. However, they did find stains in her underwear, bra, blouse, and pants. The stains were too decomposed to determine the cause of these stains or what the stains were. So 11 days after the discovery of her body, the Home News Tribute wrote an article regarding her death. They stated that investigators were looking into the possibility of witchcraft or Satan worship as being involved in her death. There were also claims that 2 miles away from where she was discovered, there were multiple animal sacrifices. From what I could gather a little bit, it almost seems like this is more of a reservation, so possibly an indigenous practice and not anything satanic, but people hearing that, I think, causes that instant assumption or fear. I'm not sure if that's actually what it was or not, but I just saw that. So all this together really ignites this idea that her case was connected to Satanism or witchcraft, and that the possibility that Jeannette was used as a sacrifice developed very quickly. And within 2 weeks of her being found, multiple news sources are reporting on the possibility of a human sacrifice as a motive. They claim that there was now this evidence of a teenage Satan worshipping group, even though authorities never officially commented on this. And listen, nobody likes teenagers. Teenagers don't even like themselves. It's just a really weird, shitty time, but it's not always devil worshipping that makes them act like that, you know? Anyway, there were other indicators that a group of devil worshippers had, I guess, group meetings in the woods. I don't know. And the cliff that Jeannette was found on was known to locals as the Devil's Teeth. So this just even more enforces the idea of Satanism being involved in her death. But there is no evidence or leads that are discovered to create any kind of certainty to this theory. A tip comes in to police shortly after the discovery of her body that indicates a homeless man named Red, who often hung around the same park she was found in, had left the park shortly after her body was discovered, which raised some suspicion that he had some possible involvement. Investigators did track him down and were able to clear him of any involvement in this case. Investigators continued to attempt to find leads, but due to lack of leads from the public, and also with some inconsistencies in stories told to police by family, friends, and peers, that really impacted their ability to understand Jeannette or her connections. This led to the case ultimately becoming cold. So in the spring of 2021, convicted New Jersey serial killer Richard Cottingham made a series of written statements to a journalist named Jesse P. Polak. This alluded to him having a possible involvement in the case by abducting and murdering Jeannette while she was hitchhiking. So Pollock does forward these statements to the Union County Prosecutor's Office after Cottingham did agree to speak to investigators if they would meet with him. No updates have been given by law enforcement regarding this lead. So Jesse P. Pollack, he actually co-authored a book on this case. So him, along with Jeannette's nephew Ray Sejesk, obtained copies of Jeannette's case files from the Union County Prosecutor's Office in February 2021. So in these case files, her remains were redacted from the photographs just to be considerate, but the crime scene photos did show the surrounding area that she was found in. And to very much surprise, according to Pollack and her nephew Ray, there were no clear indications of cross-like sticks or stone placements. And it appeared that the shape that the tree limbs had surrounding her body were more like fallen tree branches, just kind of in the shape of like an open rectangle. It didn't actually appear as like pretty exaggerated to say that it was shaped as a coffin. So in this report, it also says that her purse and wallet was missing, and it looked like those items that were found by her were from her purse being dumped out. There was also this report that her cross necklace was missing, and this was reported by both her family, and then the reports actually confirmed this. So this is pretty shocking development. I saw it on, most of it's referred to as Weird New Jersey. It's a website, which is kind of a interesting name. I looked at the crime scene photos, and I didn't see any crazy stuff. It kind of looked like just the woods to me. So I kind of see what they're saying, that everything that was reported was greatly exaggerated, and as each news article kind of took on the story, the more that these details alluding to satanic rituals that grew, the more and more these stories got passed along. So now here are the theories in this case. So Donald Short was the investigator who discovered the body. He states that he does not believe that her death had anything to do with Satanism, and claims the rumors may have been started by another police officer who saw the scene and stated that it looked satanic. He said, quote, "One guy noticed some rock and little stones around her head and all that, and he made a remark that it looked like Satan stuff." Donald Short goes on to say he believes it may have been an incident where they were doing drugs on top of the cliff, and then she OD'd, and people with her got scared and just left her there. So no drug paraphernalia was found on or near the body, And she was not really known to be a drug user by her family. There were some indications that she may have smoked marijuana occasionally or socially. He also points to the fact that she was wearing flip-flops. He says it was difficult for him in hiking boots to get up on the cliff. And so wearing flip-flops, she would have needed some kind of help. And therefore there must have been somebody with her who was going up the cliff. During the investigation, they discovered that some of Jeannette's friends were involved in drugs. And some reports actually say she was a recovering drug addict, which was very interesting. Because it seems like she may have just smoked a little bit of weed at most. So it's, what kind of recovery is really happening. Her nephew later states that he believed that it wasn't drugs or Satanism. He claims that she was not a drug addict, and during this time it was really normal for people to try smoking weed, but it wasn't like this extreme drug abuse that it was sometimes being labeled as. So, it also is like, if she was smoking weed during this time, then could it have been easily described as her being a drug addict or her friends being drug addict, when in reality it was just like a little bit of weed? I don't know. Another question in this case is around her arm being discovered by the dog and how that happened. It feels like the most likely case is that her remains were decomposed enough that her arm was able to kind of just be picked up by the dog. But I guess there could be some suspicion on whether this arm was detached prior to decomposition. I didn't see any reports of it being appeared to be, taken off close to death or anything like that. I did see somebody say that someone could have placed the arm near where it was found to have her body be located, which I don't think so, but anyway. So due to the high levels of lead found in her body, could it have possibly been like a lead poisoning situation where maybe she was walking, got confused, and ended up succumbing to her illness? It's also like, how did she get that amount of lead in her system if it was reported to be really high? A lot of the homes built before, I think, 1978 or something like that, I can't remember the exact date, they used lead in those homes. So it could have been that she was in those spaces. It seems that most lead poisoning is happening with kids developing their immune system. But with adults, it's, frequent exposure can also lead to high levels of lead. I'm not really sure how else the lead could be in her system. So that's an interesting fact to me as well. So another theory in this case is around Reverend James Tate, who was the pastor at the family's church, and that was also where Jeannette did her volunteer work. He was one of the first people interviewed by the newspapers. He states that he was aware of teens who did drugs in the area, and that when they were on drugs, they were in control of Satan and did things and said things that they didn't want to. Honestly, if Satan is making these kids laugh at stupid shit and get the munchies, I really think they need to reevaluate his credentials at his job, because he's not doing so hot. So the Reverend James Tate insists that the devil's disciplines killed Jeannette when she tried to spread the good word about Jesus Christ. It said, quote, "She was so religious that she would often talk to friends and acquaintances about God." He said they rose and they killed her. Apparently, Jeannette was dating Reverend Tate's son, Wayne Tate. They broke up a week or two prior to her murder. Wayne said that this was an innocent romance and only really engaged with each other while at church. So there's some suspicion about if the Reverend Tate or his son were involved, and perhaps she met with foul play by either both of them or one of them after having an interaction or altercation with them. I saw one person saying like maybe they were trying to help her with her drug abuse and something went wrong, but it just feels odd. I don't think there's any indication that the body was moved, so it feels weird that it would be in the middle of the woods. So another theory just holds that Jeannette was just a victim of a crime of opportunity, and that she may have been killed by the same person who killed Mary Ann Pryor and Lorraine Kelly, who were both women found in heavily wooded areas like Jeannette DePalma. So many do believe this was a murder, with the identity of the murderer being unknown. And if her necklace and purse was stolen, this may suggest a possible motive, or at the very least a confirmation someone else had been present and involved, so that essentially she could have been picked up by a hitchhiker and met with foul play. Many are fighting for the case to be reopened and for the use of new DNA technology to try and solve this case. And that is the case of Jeannette DePalma. So thank you again for recommending this case. This case seems like it kind of got wrapped up in the sensation of fear and the idea around Satanism, and perhaps if looking at the crime scene photos and kind of hearing the police officer's account, that the idea around her body being surrounded by things that indicated Satanism was very much exaggerated. So I'm kind of leaning towards this was a crime of opportunity, unfortunately, where we have seen these types of cases before of young women hitchhiking and meeting with foul play. But it's just so, it always bothers me when there isn't like a clear indication of the cause of death, and there's just so many indiscrepancies with like the crime scene and other factors like that. Drives me nuts because they're so crucial. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you are having a good day or good night wherever you are, and that you have a good day tomorrow, and I'm gonna see you in my next video.